All right, YouTube. Politico claims that Hillary Clinton will run again in 2020 and that they can prove that it's actually going to happen. I hope so. I think it would be wonderful. I think it'd be great if this extremely old, shrill individual who couldn't win the other two times ran again. Third time's a charm mode and loses by an even wider margin. It'd basically be handing the election, including probably a supermajority in the House and Senate, let's face it, as the tide turns against the Democratic Party, to the Republicans. If they truly have not learned their lesson from the last election, they're going to get stomped half out of existence, and it's going to take them several cycles to recover from that. But then again, this is the DNC that we're talking about. They would pull out all the stops to make sure she was nominated. Now, she obviously has the funding base to, blackmail and bribe people into supporting her from within the party. That's why she got the nomination this last time. She was not the strongest candidate. Strongest candidate they had was Jim Webb. And they didn't even realize it. They didn't want to take him seriously, so he drops out. He mumbled about an independent run that never actually happened. I'm sure quite a few people probably wrote him in. I know some of those delegates there, who was it, Colin Powell, that they voted for and stuff like that because they couldn't support Hillary Clinton. Half of Washington State's delegation refused to vote for her at the end and just paid a fine, I believe, if I remember correctly. And this is the sort of way that it works. Hillary Clinton was such a bad candidate that somebody with no political experience who was at like 100-to-1 odds to actually take the presidency won. Now, I predicted it. Some others did. But Vegas was against it. Every media outlet predicted a Hillary Clinton win. In fact, a lot of them thought that it would be a landslide, and it never happened. That's because nobody liked her. A lot of people never bothered to show up to vote for her because they're like, why bother? Another dynastic Bush-Clinton sort of candidate. It would be like if the Republican Party decided next time around, let's say Trump decides not to run again and Jeb jumps back in and they pull out all the stops to get a Bush back in there. It'd be chaos. It would never work. Hillary Clinton's going to be 4 years older. That means she'll be 4 years less well-spoken and less mentally there. She won't be able to wage a proper campaign. We saw in this last campaign the formerly quite energetic Hillary Clinton of 2008, when she was running against Obama and got shafted there, she got schlonged there, according to Trump, disappeared in this last election. She has health problems, that much is clear. Where regardless of what problems you think specifically she has some sort of health issues. They prevent her from running a full campaign. And in order to beat off a completely geriatric socialist, she needed the DNC to collude directly with her campaign, violating numerous election laws in the process, for which she'll never face any repercussions. All of that baggage from this last failure of a campaign will come back to haunt her again if she actually runs. I don't think she'd be nominated. If she throws her hat back in, says, okay, I'm running again, I want a rematch against Trump, I don't think she'll win. Because I don't think any amount of dishonesty, corruption, and collusion from the Democratic National Committee will be able to secure her the nomination. And the other Democrats, the younger, the far left, and maybe like center left, the old guard Democrats, they're all going to smell blood and they're going to go for the jugular. There won't be any non-aggression pact the next time around. It'll be a feeding frenzy. Everybody will pile on top of her and beat her down. You'd probably have 5 or 6 at that point potentially viable candidates in the slew going up against her. One reason there were so few people running this last time, and there were 5 Democratic candidates. 3 were never viable. The only other person that had technical viability was Sanders, and he got shafted. The reason why so few people wanted to run is because they didn't want to have to face off against Hillary Clinton, because they knew that the DNC would not treat them fairly. The party would automatically be on her side from day one and would do everything to discredit anyone running against her. Oh, this person's loony, that person's doesn't have enough experience, this person is not far left enough, that person's too far left, and stuff like that. They knew that was going to happen. It was a foregone conclusion. But would the DNC still do that this time around? Or instead, would they just use her as a cash cow for fundraising purposes and then shaft her? It remains to be seen. The power of the Bush-Clinton dynastic movement, the neocons and neoliberals, is declining. It's starting to wane. If Trump, who is not fully on board with the neocon stuff, is capable of taking the presidency and stealing most of the Rust Belt this last time around, if he were running against such an unpopular and not entirely well-spoken candidate as Clinton a second time around, he'd be incredulous. It would be funny to watch him debate her, because I don't think by that point she'll have the mental capability to debate anyway. Honestly, I'd be surprised if she's even capable of being in a political position by that time. We look at Bubba Bill, who I believe isn't he like 2 years her senior or something like that. We look at Bubba Bill, he's falling apart. Judging from how fast he's aging on that fucking vegan diet they've got him on, the low-calorie diet, he'll probably be in the grave by the time that 2020 rolls around anyway. He'll have keeled over from a nutritional deficiency. He needs his 3 burgers a day. He can't survive on that crap. As for Hillary Clinton, she is looking more and more disheveled. She's lost twice. She's no longer a viable candidate, and if the DNC is stupid enough to think that they can still scrape her back out, slap her on the public, and get her elected to the presidency, they are woefully mistaken. You'd be handing the presidency back to Trump. If he's running again, you'd be handing it to whoever is coming next, whoever the Republican candidate would be, the nominee, if he doesn't choose to run again. It wouldn't matter who it is. It could be a total moron, and they'd still probably sweep the floor with Hillary Clinton, especially since, with the paradigm shift as it is now, parts of the Southwest are going more blue, but the Rust Belt is getting more red, along with northern New England. What happens if New Hampshire and Maine both flip too, along with Minnesota? Well, there aren't enough votes in the Southwest by far to actually cobble together a winning strategy. They're not making inroads in the South. They might be able to grab up Virginia again. They might re-grab North Carolina. Everything else is going more solidly red. All Trump has to do to maintain that momentum is do a halfway decent job and not be a complete abysmal failure. He's already held half of his campaign promises in the first couple months of doing anything, of actually having won the election. He's kept half of his campaign promises already. He's either underway fulfilling them, or he's already done so. He's facing judicial obstruction. That just gives him a chance to grandstand against the judiciary. So I don't know how exactly they're planning to stop Trump. There's an easier way. The easier way is stay neo-liberals / neocons through the midterms. You'll get hammered in the midterms. At that point, the alienation level of the Democratic Party will be high enough so that people who were on the fringe, whether they be sort of the conservative Dixiecrat movement style, not leftist Democrats, the people like Jim Webb, the people with common sense from within the party, who have been a dying breed for decades, or a Jimmy Carter liberal, someone who's actually an actual liberal, or even a socialist movement, they will begin to gain more prominence, and they'll displace the party establishment. That could bring about good or bad things for the Democratic Party, but it's obvious their current strategy is not working. They need to formulate their response based on what Trump has done and the success that he's had. Hillary Clinton's not able to do that. Clinton is an insular individual. She doesn't work well with others unless they're sucking her cock, basically. Which means that she will keep with the same tired campaign strategy. She'll throw out some memes that she hopes will go viral, and they'll go viral for the wrong reasons, make her look completely dated. Meanwhile, Trump will sit there laughing. He might not even have to show up for the debates because she'd be such a weak candidate. So I hope that Politico's right, but there's a 99% chance that they're wrong. I don't think Clinton will run again. If she does, I don't think she'd be the nominee. That being said, if she does run, and she does rig her way into the nomination, it's going to be great to watch her suffer. It'll be a lot easier than this campaign. This campaign, even for those that were optimistic about Trump's chances, that optimism was based on the understanding that the polls were being sampled improperly. This time around, though, it wouldn't even be close. He'd be ahead in every poll. He'd probably win, a lot of states that traditionally have been blue, even more than just like, he grabbed Michigan and Pennsylvania. I'm talking about Minnesota. I'm talking about, Maine and New Hampshire possibly. Probably grab Virginia again. Might make inroads in the Southwest, although the movement there is still to the left. Even in this last campaign, most of the voting trends in the southwest quarter of the country are towards the Democrats. That means Colorado is no longer really a swing state. Arizona and Utah could become swing states, but if you're taking parts of the Rust Belt off the table, if Michigan stays red, if Pennsylvania is tending red, that's not enough votes to even displace the delegates you get from Pennsylvania. So it's not exactly an advantage for the Democrats. The Republicans would go into the election with probably 300 solid electoral votes. It'd be a wash. Trump would go out to places he never expected having to campaign in the last time around, and expect to have a fighting chance in a few of them. He'd probably increase his electoral victory. And the popular vote. Popular vote wouldn't go for Clinton. You'd see high turnout again in California, maybe New York and Illinois. Elsewhere, it would begin to evaporate. I think you'd see much higher turnout for Trump fans, honestly, if it happens again, especially after 4 years, when the novelty of the media talking about Armageddon or Trump as Hitler wears off because it's clear that he's not, and he's swung back to the center to focus on fiscal issues, as I predict he will. When you take the he's Hitler off the table, there's not a whole lot left for the Democrats to go after. They can't go after political experience because he'll have been the president of the United States already. He'll also have that incumbent advantage over whoever his opponent is. Last time Hillary Clinton was in the White House, she wasn't the president, she was the first lady, an unelected position back in the 1990s. It would arguably be Trump's advantage on all fronts. He didn't even need any of those advantages in this election. In this last election, of course, he won. People still say, he didn't win the popular vote. He will next time around if you run Hillary Clinton against him. Find somebody else. Find somebody. How about the Democratic Party tries to find somebody who's sane and run them, instead of always fixating on these completely corrupt, blind fools that they keep running? Maybe if they found somebody who actually had a little bit of sense, wasn't a corrupt jerk-off, and had something in common with the average American voter, and they weren't constantly trying to use race or sex as a wedge issue, which clearly has stopped working for them, maybe then they'd stand a chance of winning the election. But so far, they're showing no proclivity towards doing this. So far, they're trying to rig a Muslim in as the head of the DNC, number one, which I'm sure that's going to go over so well with the secular voting bloc. It's going to be just great among the hardline atheists that typically vote far left, honestly. It's going to be great for that. I'm sure they would much prefer the DNC to the Republicans who have left gay marriage behind as an issue. And Trump even gets Pence to say, oh, there's no discrimination in our administration. Yeah, gay workers, those are just fine. That's funny. I thought that he was Hitler, too. I thought he wanted to use shock treatment against homosexuals. See, they're already moving to the center on all of these moral issues. Or they're moving even further than the center on moral issues. Great strategy. It's going to undercut the Democrats' talking points. I can just see it now when Clinton brings up, oh, gay people, they feel uncomfortable with you, and he says, you're the one that didn't support gay marriage. I did. And he won't have to put any blinders on the public, by the way, on the issue the next time around. In 4 years, the vast majority of Republicans will no longer give a fuck about gay marriage or gay rights as far as trying to fight against that issue. Trump will come right out on stage and say, yeah, I have no problem with gay people. Yeah, they should be able to marry, and nobody will care. They won't care. They'll be too fixated on the economy or foreign policy. That's the direction our country's going. Now, a major fiscal crisis could derail his presidency. However, I don't have any reason specifically to believe that's on the horizon, at least in the next few years. I don't believe that that's the case. And if it happens, and he puts policies into effect that actually reverse it, then he actually gets a boost from it. Oh, the man who fixed the economy really quickly. Oh, we always knew he was a great magnate, and so forth. No, I don't think Clinton will run again. I don't think she will. If she does, there's a 99% chance she doesn't run. If she does, there's a 99% chance she doesn't end up the nominee. And if she's nominated, there's a 99% chance she loses. So the odds are not for her. I think she should retire from politics, go back to siphoning money from your friends in Saudi Arabia, and leave the White House alone. You will never set foot in it again. That's about all. Peace out.